recording, and just a reminder to everyone, please press *6 to mute your phone. Right now we don't have any background noise, but if we do, I will have to turn on presentation mode, which will not allow people to ask questions until the end of the webinar when I turn it off, so I'd rather not have to do that. Again, my name is Nick Anderson. I know most of you. I've seen most of you throughout the entire season, but for those of you who do not know me, I'm with Special Olympics Maryland. I am a regional sports director, and I'm also the SOMB soccer lead. Let's get started here. There we go. Okay, so for tonight's agenda, we're just going to go over the same thing we always go over on the preseason or pre-competition webinars. Excuse me. Number of teams, schedule. We'll go over the venue. No major changes from last year. We'll do a couple rules reminders, rule updates. We'll go through the rain plan. Obviously, it's still too far out to know what the weather is really going to look like, but we'll talk through it just in case we come to that. We'll do some miscellaneous stuff, and then we'll end with some question and answer sessions. Okay, soccer. So as you can see here, we have our 77 5v5 and 77 PDU. Under the 77 and 5v5, there's the unified and traditional. Numbers are slightly up from last year, not significantly, just some shifts as far as where teams are falling. And we actually, I think, are 3 athletes lower on individual skills. I believe we had 51 registered last year. So the numbers are looking good. They're up slightly overall. Schedule for the competition day, we will have delegation and volunteer registration at 8 a.m. We will have an 8:30 head coaches meeting. It will be in the control tent. You'll see later on that there's a venue map, which I just realized I forgot to take the coaches meeting off of, so that will be adjusted when it comes out, but the coaches meeting will be in the control tent. Opening ceremonies, we're planning to have opening ceremonies outside on the raised sort of trailer bed that we have in the past. Again, once we get to the rain plan, we'll talk through a few things. The officials meeting, that will happen at 9:40. That will also be in the control tent. Competition will begin at 10 o'clock. Lunches will be available to pick up for teams at 11. And I'll hit this now. Last year there was an issue where lunches came staggered from the company that we get them from. We got one type at a time. We had made the request that we receive a variety of lunches, the full array of lunches, when they bring their first delivery. They're going to try to get everything to us at once, but it's looking like they're going to have to stagger deliveries, which is fine, and they will bring a full array. And then also competition is estimated. Whoever just joined us, if you could please press *6. I'm getting a little feedback. Thank you. Competition, the tentative end of competition time is 5 o'clock. Divisions and game schedules will be distributed no later than next Thursday night. With all the qualifiers ending this past weekend, or all of the required qualifiers, we'll start to be able to get a pretty good picture of where teams will fall. So we hope to have it out a little sooner than next Thursday, but do not expect it any sooner than next Thursday. Okay, soccer venue overall. The same venue as it's been in the past. There's the 2 parking lots in the front, and then both here in the front and then the back of the building. Most people tend to park in this general area. Opening ceremonies, we're hoping to have it on the stage again last year, or that we have. I guess it's been a couple years now. Actually, I don't remember being on the stage with me on staff, so I guess it's been about 4 years since we last had it. We're going to hope to have it there this year, weather depending. Control center, delegation registration will be in the large tent in the center of the field, and then obviously these are all the competition fields all around. Same field layout as last year. We haven't quite figured out how many fields we will be using, but these are the field layouts, as well as the bathroom locations, lunch distribution, and your field locations. Okay. Inside of the venue, again, says team coaches meeting. The team coaches meeting will be in the control tent, which is right here in the center of the field. Skills will be inside again this year, so the skills coaches will have their coaches meeting on this individual skills field right here. So you walk in the front door of the building, which is right here. You walk all the way down the hallway. It'll be the field on the last field on your right. That's where the skills coaches meeting will be. Same as last year. Hopefully not the same as last year, actually. These two center fields will be used for inclement weather play. Actually, I believe we just used this front one last year. This one was Strive Core. We're not having Strive Core this year, so if we have to because of weather, we will use these two center fields for competition play. Individual skills will again be on the far left blue court on the inside venue, and we will use that for opening ceremonies again this year if we have to due to weather. All right, into some rules, reviews, and reminders. Something that was discussed at the preseason webinar, but just wanted to reemphasize with everyone, the principle of meaningful involvement. I'm not going to fully read through it, but it is something that are in the general rules for Special Olympics that it says specifically for unified play here, although it is something that can be enforced throughout all both traditional and unified levels of competition. If there's one player who is dominating play and is aware that they are dominating play, doing it because they are a very good player. It goes against the core philosophy of Special Olympics Maryland, and we as a soccer sports management team have come up with sort of penalties or ways to enforce if this happens. Obviously, the first violation, the offending coach will be given a verbal warning. Second violation, the coach will be shown a yellow card. Third violation, the coach will be shown a second yellow or her second yellow and removed from competition. And the player who's in violation, if it's the same player for all three offenses, will receive a yellow card. I wouldn't assume it gets even to that third violation, but as you can see here, there are it's laid out what the fourth and seventh violation would be overall. Now, the 1 through 4 violations would be for a single game. The seventh violation would be for a team in the entire tournament. Again, we don't expect this to actually happen. We would assume if it gets to the point where there's a warning, verbal warning to the coach, a majority of coaches will then be able to take that athlete out or partner out and handle the issue. But we did flesh out the entire process just in case. PDU reminders. This is a slide that was directly pulled out of the preseason webinar, so most of you have seen this. I'm not going to read through it entirely, but just some things to remember or a few tips. If you think of PDU as 5v5 soccer with two coaches on the field, that's probably the best way to look at it. The two unified partners are not actually true unified partners. They are on-field coaches. So that's what seems to have helped people fully understand what PDU is the most, to think of the two people on the field as coaches, and it is 5v5 soccer. It goes through what the mentors can and can't do. A few of the can'ts that they can't do. They can't directly impact the game, as in they can't steal either passively or actively. So passively would be maybe just stand directly in front of an athlete dribbling the ball down the field, and then actively would be actively stealing the ball from them, actually going out of their way to take the ball away. Blocking shots, intercepting passes from the opposing team, and impeding the advancement of the other team down the field, whether that's, again, trying to stand in front of an athlete bringing the ball down, or just running in front of them, slowing them down, or trying to distract them. They can't shoo away team members from the opposing team from one of their team members who has the ball. They cannot excessively control the ball or control the game. Now, of course, if the ball is passed to them or the ball comes to them, they can then pass it off to somebody else or hold it for a second to get their team set and then pass it away. Just nothing excessive. Uniform and attire, just a few things, especially yesterday, that I noticed just because it was particularly cold and windy yesterday. And I would assume it's probably going to be particularly cold and windy at the state competition just because it's usually windy on the shore because it's flat. Sweatshirts are okay if they're worn under the uniform. You can't wear anything over the uniform blocking the number or the jersey. Undergarments, long sleeve t-shirts, they should, to the best of your ability, get them to like colors among all teammates. We understand that many of you don't travel as a group and people show up, so we of course are flexible, especially if it's cold, but please just stress with your athletes and partners to wear all one color. Whatever that color is your choice. Shin guards must be worn. Socks should be worn over the shin guards. There were a few people yesterday who had shin guards over sweatpants or some sort of sports leggings. So please make sure you have socks that are over your shin guards. Caps and headgear, nobody really was in violation of this yesterday if they were worn for medical or religious purposes. If it's really cold, your athlete can wear it on the sideline. Of course, they can wear gloves on the sideline, but once they're in the game, they really need to take everything off, hats and gloves and stuff, or hats, they can wear gloves, but unless it's for religious or medical purposes. Rosters, everyone submitted their rosters. Everyone should have gotten a copy of their rosters at their respective required qualifier. So there should be no surprises. You've seen what we have as far as what you've submitted. In the situation where your team is missing a few players for 77 games, you must start each game with 7 players, but it can be reduced to as few as 5 on the field if it's deemed safe by the competition director, which is myself. 5v5, you must start with 5, and it may be reduced to no fewer than 4, again, if it's something that's deemed safe. Game times, most of you know this already, but 77 we have the 2 20-minute halves, 5.5 time, 5v5 PDU, it's 15-minute halves with the 5-minute halftime. Running clock, unless there's an injury, times may be adjusted if necessary. We do have more teams than we've had in the past years, so I'll have to take a look at the schedule. I don't think I'll have to adjust anything, but again, there might be that possibility that times may have to be adjusted just a little bit. In case there's a tie at the end of the game, they'll have the 2 5-minute golden goal periods. And then after that, if it's still tied, it will proceed to penalty kicks. Nothing there. Actually, something there I will comment. Last year, we do say going in that there is that golden goal opportunity or golden goal overtime periods. Some of you may remember last year it was incredibly windy, and we actually removed the golden goal opportunity just because the wind was actually strong enough to move the ball. So that is the rule, but just please be flexible and reasonable on site if it's excessively windy. We may decide to get rid of that golden goal overtime and instead just have 2 regular overtimes. Coaching from the bench, you can of course coach from your bench. You should only have 1 coach standing, and the coach should remain within their bench area. Now, there's no defined bench area, but just stay within reasonable distance of your bench. Don't, walk all the way down to one of the goals, coaching on the sideline. Please stay as close to the bench as possible. 5v5, if it goes out of bounds on the sideline, it's kick-in. 7v7, it's kick-in or throw-in. There were a couple questions about that yesterday at the 7v7 required qualifier, but for the most part, everyone seems to be aware of that. Teams should report to their assigned field no later than 15 minutes prior to the start of their next game. Have a complete roster form, which we will give you, with jersey numbers completed to give to the scorekeeper. We had planned to do this last year, but because of the wind and the cold, we did not. We are planning to have teams introduced prior to the start of the game. With the player's name announced, they'll walk out in front of their team bench. They can wave to their family, friends, whoever's there spectating, just to add a little bit to the games. And then skills competition, we'll have 2 rounds. Preliminary round will start at 10 o'clock. The final round start time will be announced at the coaches meeting, and it will depend on the number of entrants who actually attend. That also may change after the coaches meeting, but Sam Hodak will be running skills again this year. And most of you who are on the call who are skills coaches are familiar with Sam, and he'll get you all the information you need throughout the day. Okay, again, the rain plan, we are very far out from the competition, and these numbers these forecasts were pulled today at 3:50. So of course that's 13 days out. Anything could happen. We could come back a week from now and it's sunny and 65. But just because the long range is looking like we might get some rain, the opening ceremonies may be moved inside. Some divisions may be moved inside. We would move the 5v5 and PDU divisions inside just because of the size of the fields. The 7v7 divisions would remain outside. We will play in the rain. If there's torrential downpour, we'll delay play and go from there. And then obviously in the case of lightning, everyone needs to proceed inside the building. Lunches will be provided to all registered delegation members. Each team will pick up lunches for their entire team at once. Do not send individuals to get lunches. Skills. So skills coaches, we ask that you pick up the lunch for your entire skills team. Family members can purchase lunch from the cafe that's at Crown. Teams are encouraged to bring pop-up tents, lawn chairs for spectators. There is some seating. There's not a ton as far as tent space and whatnot, but you can bring those things. Use good common sense when placing a tent. Just make sure you don't block the flow of traffic. For those of you who have been there, your family members should know what the flow of traffic is. And we could ask you to relocate, so just make sure that your families are aware of that they can come, they can bring their tent, but they may be asked to relocate. Okay, opening ceremonies. We're still looking for nominees for the Special Olympics oath and the Pledge of Allegiance. You can feel free to email those to myself anytime between now and probably Tuesday of next week, Wednesday of next week. If I receive a number of them, I'll do a fair random draw of athletes, but we're still looking for those. Nominations. Awards will be presented on the field following a game that determines the place of finish, just like we did last year.
Nick, I'm sorry, and I missed this when we were reviewing the slide deck. There is if we are outside, there is a possibility we may also need one torchbearer. So we're trying to nail down whether we'll have law enforcement to assist us with this. So there's a possibility we may need one additional athlete as well. So if folks are interested, please include that too.
Perfect. Yeah, and you can nominate an athlete for all three, or just for one of the three options. It doesn't matter. you just use your best discretion. You know your athletes, you know your team. Another note, awards will be presented on the field for the team competition. Again, skills awards will happen inside on the blue court area, the same place they were presented last year. Okay, any questions? Actually, quick note on this page. Special Olympics Maryland is experiencing a server migration right now. So we do have access to our emails. However, we're not receiving them directly on our phone currently. So people will probably for the next couple of days not be actively checking their email outside of the normal 8 to 5 business hours, 8 to 4, 9 to 5, whatever that person may work. So if you send us an email and it needs quick response and it's after about 5:30, 6 o'clock at night, there's a good chance you won't hear back until some point the next day. Hopefully it won't be super long until we're back getting our emails regularly, but just please be aware of that we are experiencing a server migration and have somewhat limited access to our emails. Any questions overall?
Yeah, this is Mike Clam from Montgomery County, and just more of a general thought with all the coaches on line. As far as I know, you said you had 6 5v5 unified teams, but only 2 are actual high schoolers. And I know traditionally you split tradition and unified, but being all the competitions, just so you're aware, they were all very evenly matched. So if everyone else is in favor, I think it'd be better split to put all 5 teams together instead of trying to play those 2 unified and only have a division of 2. Just a thought as you guys put the schedule together.
Oh yeah, thank you very much for sharing that. I have not had an opportunity to review all of the film yet, so I will definitely take that into consideration. Again, at this point, since I haven't had an opportunity to review the film from all of the qualifiers, I can't make any promises that will happen, but I will take your recommendation into consideration.
Perfect, thanks.
Thank you. Anything else? Any questions, comments?
Hey, Nick, this is Mark Bonner from St. Mary's County.
Mark,
just to tag on to that last comment, we're in that Division 2, one of the unified teams, and we're good with a 5-team division.
Perfect. Thank you for letting me know. Again, can't say yes or no right now, but I will definitely take that into consideration once we've looked at everything.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Hi, Nick. It's Katie Detweiler, Montgomery County.
Hi, Katie. How are you?
Chime in as the 3rd team on that. I put that in an email to you today as well. And another thing I dropped in my email, but just to share with everyone, is yesterday we had our teams sit on one side of the field and all the parents on the other side. And for us, that helped a lot with communication with our players and the refs. And we'd like to see that implemented if possible. Not sure if it'll work for states or not. I had attended some community rec teams over the weekend and saw them do that with their parents, and I asked a coach, do you guys always do this? And they said, yeah, it sort of worked out that way. So it helped us in subbing and keeping our athletes focused on the coaches on one side versus the cheer team on the other side.
Yeah, that's something we can take into consideration. Not sure we could necessarily definitely make that happen at this year's competition. Some of the fields make that easier just because the field's closer to the road. The benches tend to be right up against the roadway, and there's no real space for spectators. Some of the fields towards the middle makes it a little more difficult just because the in-between area of fields is the natural traffic area, so it's kind of hard to keep people out of those areas. So that's definitely something we can look at.
Great.
Any further questions? Mike Sarnowski, anything to add that I may have not thought of or missed?
No, nice job.
All right. Well, thank you, everyone. Again, if you think of any questions over the next 13 or so days, feel free to email myself or your respective regional sports director or both of us. And excited to see everyone November 1st.